Airdrops are one of the most amazing things about the crypto space. Imagine making up to $10,000 or more of free crypto in your wallet just for being an early adopter of a new technology. I've done this multiple times. I've helped countless other people do this on this channel. But what if you could make $1 million or more like this? Well, it's entirely possible. The proof is on chain. There's even high schoolers making $500,000 off this strategy. And some accounts have made up to $1 to $2 million off the recent Arbitrum airdrop alone. And so this video, I'm gonna give you a short masterclass on how to win big with crypto airdrops by giving you some of my personal tips and also looking at some of these grandmasters themselves. I'm gonna show you all this as a blockchain developer myself, of course, who works this technology on a daily basis and a multi-time airdrop recipient myself. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you learn how to become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish, break into the industry, increase your salary well past 100K or more, I can show you how to do that over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so before we begin this, I always have to make a couple of disclaimers. Number one is nothing in this video is designed to be personalized financial advice in any way, shape, or form. And number two is I'm not advocating that you go out there and try to create some massive airdrop farm to completely game this system. That's not good for anybody, and I don't condone that on this channel. But with that being said, let's dive into this. So it's officially airdrop season out there. If you've been following along with my channel recently, you see me talking about the recent Arbitrum airdrop. I've given you multiple hints about that on this channel, that they were a top contender for a massive airdrop. And if you paid attention, you likely got thousands of dollars, potentially even tens of thousands of dollars for free. And if you're like one of these top users, perhaps you even made millions of dollars off this opportunity. And if you were one of these people and you were watching this channel, then of course, hats off to you, sir or madam. And now I know a lot of you out there are trying to figure out what are the next hot projects that are going to do airdrops so you can get a position for this. That's not exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video today, but make sure you subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications. I'm going to be talking about those things in the future. But in this video, I want to talk about some of the top ways that you can maximize your potential for getting airdrops so that you can make a lot of money. Because I was just reading this report that was interviewing some of the top airdrop millionaires, and some of the advice that they had was shocking, saying that it's not rocket science and that even high school kids can do this, and some are even making up to $500,000, and that it's pretty easy to get started because in one evening you can make up to 10 high quality accounts. And now it's true. It's not rocket science. In fact, I've got multiple airdrops in 5 figures or more territory without even really trying. But if you want to increase your returns, then you need to be strategic in how you do this. And so let's go over some of the top tips on how to do that. All right, so one of the first tips in doing this is really trying to get ahead of the trends. You know, one of the people interviewed in this report said, if you get ahead of a trend, it's basically just a free money giveaway. Like this person who was able to do that and got 200,000 free tokens from several thousand accounts. Because part of the whole name of the game of this thing is trying to figure out where the puck is going, and you skate where the puck is going. This requires you to make bets in the future, and you want these to be educated bets. And so how can you make the best educated guesses possible? Well, it's to look where the trends are going and where the technology is headed. So this is one way that, you know, just understanding blockchain and what it's possible and what problems are currently trying to be solved with the technology gives you huge advantages, like everything I talk about in this channel. For example, you know, the Arbitrum airdrop that happened recently is because, you know, we're creating layer 2 scaling solutions for technology like Ethereum. And if you understand that's a bottleneck in the technology and that more people are doing this, then it stands to reason that more people going after this type of thing are probably going to have airdrops in the future. And so that's one way, is just to understand the technology, understand the limiting factors, but then you can look at new projects that don't have tokens yet that have some type of traction. So what could this traction be? Well, you could look at people that have actually raised money and have big backers, okay? You can look at things like TVL on these projects on a website like DeFi Llama, how much cryptocurrency is actually being locked into it, how many active transactions there are per day. This will give you an idea of what type of technology is got traction or where other people are making bets about the future. And then finally, you can just do things like look at social media to see what's trending about these types of technologies. What are people talking about inside Discord groups? What are people talking about on Twitter? And so with these 3 things, understanding technological innovation and new projects and what they can do for crypto, understanding what has traction, and then what has, you know, social proof. These 3 different things can kind of help you see where this whole space is headed, and whoever doesn't have a token yet, who's well positioned within these trends, could be a really good candidate for an airdrop. All right, so another top tip is studying the best. Like, who out there has actually made big money off airdrops? Can you go find those addresses, and then can you look at what they did and try to replicate those types of things for the future? Well, I'm gonna give you a hint. Yes, you can do that. Okay, so here's an example of 2 different airdrop recipients who accumulated a couple $1 million or more from airdrops. Now, one of these is disqualified because they turned out to be a phishing scammer, but this address right here, got a bunch of money. Now, how do you actually find this person? Well, it's not that this account, just happened to get a massive airdrop of $2 million. No, it's that they use multiple accounts to accumulate this, and then they sent it to one account. So that's the first tip, is how can you find these people? Well, you can go look at the holders of the tokens and find people who have big holdings, not like $50 million. People have more like, multiple six figures or maybe just shallow seven figures, and then see who of these people sent these tokens from a bunch of different addresses. Not that they just bought them on an exchange, but they sent them from like maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 different addresses, and then do a little basic due diligence to see, were those airdrop recipients? If they were all airdrop recipients and they sent them to the same account, then you realize this person probably controlled all those accounts. And the next step is to see, where all these tokens came from. Okay, look at those addresses and see what was the activity on those accounts. That's going to tell you two different pieces of information. The first piece of information is, what projects were they using? Okay, if this is a single-use address, then that may not give you a ton of insight into what projects they might be doing in the future. But number two is it will show you what type of activity did this address do to become eligible for that airdrop. And you can sort of look at their patterns of behavior, like what did they do? Did they swap on an exchange? Did they just simply send money from one account to another? How often did they do this? Across what span of time? Was it just a account that only made transactions for a week? Was it multiple months? And how much money did they actually invest in each wallet to pull this off? And all that intel can help you make an own strategy that you can employ for a future airdrop just like this. All right, so the next tip is to recognize patterns with airdrops. All right, so one thing is basically to study past airdrops and learn from them, recognize the patterns, and then try to apply that to see where those patterns could apply in the future. So I can think of this in a couple ways. One is I was talking about this with the Arbitrum airdrop. Okay, Arbitrum is a layer 2 scaling solution. They did their airdrop in the past month. And when I was doing this, I was saying, hey, look, Arbitrum is a big competitor to this thing called Optimism, which is also a layer 2 scaling solution in the Ethereum space that more or less does the same thing. Okay. And Optimism airdropped a token long before Arbitrum did. And what I was saying is, okay, we can recognize a pattern here. I talked about the Optimism airdrop before it happened, saying, hey, it's probably going to happen. It happened. And now, just recognize a pattern. Here's another massive competitor. They're probably going to do the same thing. And boom, I was right. And so you can apply that same logic to what are the other major layer 2 scaling solutions on here that have not airdropped a token yet. One good example would be ZK Sync. If you were to apply this logic, you could say, hey, they're probably a really good candidate for an airdrop in the future, and therefore I can start using that project. Now, another way to use pattern recognition is to talk about the airdrop criteria. Okay, so one is you've identified the project through pattern recognition, but now you have to figure out, how do I actually get that airdrop? Because it's probably not just enough to, move some funds to it and start making some transactions. You probably want to look at the past eligibility criteria from other airdrops. And so you can look at, past eligible criteria like Arbitrum, for example. You can see, did you bridge to Arbitrum? Yes. Then you got eligible for the airdrop. Did you do transactions over time? 3, 6, 9 months. Okay. The frequency. All right. The transaction value, et cetera, et cetera. So you can read through these types of things and say, how do these rules apply to these other potential candidates? And can I go ahead and check off all these boxes to really increase the likelihood that I'll be eligible for that airdrop as well? All right. So the next tip is, do not lose your money. Okay. So it doesn't really make sense if you get a nice airdrop, if you get back less money than you spent on this. And like if you lost all your money in the process, like the airdrop's not even worth it at that point. So what's one of the biggest ways that you can protect yourself from doing this? So, as always, whenever you bridge funds to an ecosystem, you never know exactly what's going to happen. So number one is if you're talking about bridging over to a different chain or to a different, layer 2 scaling solution, if this is a really brand new thing that like nobody's talking about, like that has a way higher risk profile and it could be a complete rug pull. Okay, that's one reason I say there's risk with airdrop. None of this is financial advice. You have to really do a lot of due diligence before you identify exactly what you're going to try to do. But now let's say that you've identified another ecosystem maybe that you want to do an airdrop for, and the ecosystem looks pretty reputable, but you're not so sure about each project. Like sometimes people want you to provide liquidity to a protocol. So just know that anytime that you're depositing funds like into a smart contract, for example, those smart smart contracts are always a risk. And, you know, it's probably a good rule of thumb to just stay away from anything that you think is a massive risk, because if you lose all the money in that, it's not worth the potential airdrop that you can get. All right, and the last major tip is to use automation to your advantage, okay? So one of the things that can be kind of challenging about airdrops is that sometimes you have to kind of grind this out, okay? Maybe you have to set aside some time every single day, you know, to go in and start using an ecosystem. And if you're going to do this across multiple accounts, you got to do it across every single account. Maybe you got to do it multiple times a day. It can be a little bit of a grind and kind of feel like a part-time job. Now, that can be okay, you know, if you're able to make a lot of money off of this. However, what if you could automate this stuff so you don't have to sit there and do it all the time, and you could even have some accounts working for you in your sleep? Well, that's the massive edge that you have as a developer, okay? Go through this report by the different people who have made millions off these airdrops. Some of the people have massive teams of people. You know, this person had 200,000 tokens from airdrops, but they had thousands of accounts, and he had a team of people running 500 different accounts for him. Now, you probably don't want to manage a massive team of people, but what if you could create scripts as a developer to automate a lot of this stuff? Well, that's the superpower that you have as a blockchain developer, is you can create scripts that interact with different protocols, do things like transfer tokens, swap on exchanges, provide liquidity, use applications, okay? I actually put a massive tutorial on my YouTube channel talking about how to create your own airdrop hunter so that you can do this while you sleep. So definitely check that out. All right, so last but not least, let's talk about what is okay and what is not okay when you're doing airdrop. Because before I said, hey, you know, you don't want to go out there and create this massive bot farm that tries to get these airdrops. Like, that's not cool. Nobody really wants that. That's not the spirit of what's happening here, okay? There is a little bit of a gray area with airdrops and what's, you know, ethical in this case, because clearly there's some people who are out there to just totally game the system, and nobody really likes them. So I definitely don't advocate for anything like that on this channel. That's not really what I'm trying to teach you how to do in this video. But on the other end of things, like, most people who get an airdrop get it with at least 2 accounts, all right? If you're going out there and doing all this work once with 1 account, there's probably nothing wrong with you doing it with a couple different accounts. And in fact, I would argue that most people who create these protocols expect you to do that. They just don't want you creating these massive army of bots that's completely gaming the system, that's not actually doing any organic growth. But if you are an organic user of this stuff and you do it with a couple different accounts, then you're still adding value to the ecosystem. You're just kind of multiplying that value a little bit. And so those are the rules that I personally play by. You know, full disclosure, it might get you disqualified from an airdrop if they think that your accounts are connected, but you're clearly not just trying to spam this entire ecosystem and rip the entire protocol off by farming this with like 10,000 accounts or something. All right, so that's an overview of how to make big money with these crypto airdrops, okay? This is taking some lessons from the top people who have made millions of dollars off these crypto airdrops, and some of my personal tips as someone who's done this with basically no effort, what I've learned from the process and how you can help position yourself for the next big thing. So I hope you like this video. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That helps this videos out so we can learn about blockchain. And while getting airdrops is awesome, it's nice, it's a great bonus for being a part of the crypto space, the best way to create long-term wealth in crypto is to become a blockchain developer. Get the technical skills, increase your salary, get a high-paying remote job, and then use all that extra time and money, if you want to channel that back into the crypto space. So I can show you how to do that step-by-step over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp, okay? You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.